I have plowed and reaped and husked and chopped and mowed. Can any man do more than that? As a young slave, I worked very, very hard, with all I had within me. My old slave master, Mr. Dumont, even said that I worked just as well as any of his men. So I started preaching to anyone just out there, up and down the country, to the farmers listening, to the townspeople, to people in church at church revivals. I went from town to town, up and down west of the Mississippi, just sharing the message that all people, no matter what your race or gender, are equal, and that slavery should be abolished. I also preached about God's love, His wisdom and power, the power of faith, and how it got me through. And above all this, too many people live in poverty with horrible lifestyles. My preaching could help them. Even though, as an abolitionist, not all black people wanted to listen to me. "Oh, she's just a woman," they'd say. Or things like, "Now who will listen to us? That we don't even listen to white women." And not all women took up my message seriously, simply because I was black, even though I was preaching for them too. Despite these obstacles, I never let that hold me back. People all over the country started knowing more about me. And as I traveled, some of them even let me stay at their house for a night. Whenever I preached, people were always shocked to hear me, or surprised with the words I could say. It is true, I am illiterate. I cannot read or write, but I can read how people are feeling. And yes, I'm a woman, but I stand tall with confidence, and I bear that mark with pride. I speak what's from my heart. I speak about the past experience I felt, the emotions, the good and the bad, the beatings and the suffering, and the parts of joy in my life. At a women's conference in Ohio in 1851, I went there, and there were so many suffragists and so many men talking about how women don't deserve their rights. None of these women spoke out against them. These women didn't even want me to speak just because I was black. Either way, as soon as I stepped upon that stage, there was silence. So I told those men I could work as much and eat as much as a man when I could get it, and bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman?
That man over there says women need to be helped into carriages, lifted over ditches, and to have the best place everywhere. Nobody helps me into carriages or carries me over mud puddles or gives me any best place, and ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arm. I have plowed, I have planted, I have gathered into bonds, and no man could head me. And ain't I a woman? I could work as much, eat as much, when I could find it, and bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? I have borne 13 children and seen most of them sold into slavery. And when I cried out with a mother's grief, and none but Jesus could hear me, ain't I a woman? They talk about this thing in the head. What's that they call it? Intellect. That's it, honey. What's intellect got to do with women's rights or Negroes' rights? If my cup won't hold but a pint, and yours holds a quarter, wouldn't you be mean not to let me have my little half measure full? That little man in black back there, he says women can't have the same rights as men because Christ wasn't a woman. Where does your Christ come from? Where does your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with him. So if the first woman God ever made could turn the world upside down all alone, then these women together ought to be able to turn it right back side up again. And now that they asking to do it, men ought to let them.